There are 32 teams in the NFL, and with that many teams, not surprisingly, some teams are in different states than others, as teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buffalo Bills are all gearing up towards what they hope for is a Super Bowl run at the start of the 2021 season, culminating in holding up the beloved Lombardi Trophy in LA in Super Bowl 56 in the first week of February. Other teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets just selected rookie quarterbacks, and while they will eventually hope to do that with their said rookie quarterbacks, they realistically know that is not a possibility this year. However, some teams are in the middle of these 5 teams that we mentioned, meaning they could possibly go 4-13 this year, or they could go 12-5 and potentially make a deep playoff run, and that's what we are going to discuss in today's video. We are going to discuss several teams that are in win now mode, because if they do not win this year, then they will more than likely be like what the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets are right now, and that is rebuilding. So we are going to discuss several teams that need to win in 2021 in order to, I don't want to say save their future, but in order to save their coaches' jobs and in order to keep that head coach around for the long term. Now, before we dive into each and every one of those teams, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and it would be very much appreciated. Now, let's begin. And we're going to start today's video with the 6-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers, who, despite starting out 11-0 last year, had a very rough end to their 2020 season, as they eventually won the division, which, yes, good for them, but then they essentially got smoked by the Browns in the wildcard round, and although the final score was an 11-point loss for them, it was a lot further than that for most of the game. Now, the reason why they are in win-now mode is pretty obvious. They have quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, a Hall of Fame quarterback in what we expect to be the final year of his career, given how 2020 went and how his play just was not where it was in the mid-2010s, and it was evident when you watched the Steelers play. So, having said that, they are more than likely not going to go from Ben onto the next version of Ben or the next franchise quarterback right away. So, having said that, they are in win-now mode. Their defense is pretty good. It has good players like TJ Watt, Devin Bush, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, but those guys aren't going to be around forever, especially TJ, and while those guys can hold down the defensive side of the ball, they simply need the offense to produce, and what makes me question and really wonder what the Steelers' future is going to be in the post-Ben era is who is going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, I really think there's going to be a little bit of a 8-8, 9-7 type era post-Ben, because at best, by the way, because who is going to quarterback them? Who is going to lead them into battle every single Sunday under the center? And it's going to be a completely new era, and players like Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool are going to be in a bit of a no man's land in the post-Ben era unless they can make something seriously happen. And that's going to be tough, and it's going to present a lot of challenges, because I certainly do not think, at least at this point in time, that Mason Rudolph is the answer long term. He will be in what will be his 6th season next year, and at that point, I don't think it's beneficial to back up a guy for over half of a decade and then just to step in and say, you know what, cool, all right, Mason, you're the guy, let's go. It's one thing to back up a guy for 8 games or even a full season, but to back up for 5 full seasons, 18 through what will be the 2021 season, is a lot for a player, and I simply don't think Mason Rudolph will be the long-term answer. So, having said all of this, they will certainly be in win-now mode. Now, to quickly discuss what will be the post-Ben era, Najee Harris will obviously have a lot of impact on that on the offensive side of the ball, as will Chase Claypool, given he will be in just his 3rd season next year, but I simply don't think a quarterback is going to step in, be the next Ben Roethlisberger, which, by the way, is a 2-time Super Bowl champion and an eventual Hall of Famer, and just say, all right, let's seamlessly go from Ben to this new guy, and then we're going to have 2 Super Bowls in the next 5 seasons, because I certainly don't think that's going to happen, and for that reason, the Steelers are definitely in win-now mode. And the next team we go to for today's video is the Dallas Cowboys, and it is pretty obvious as to why they are in win-now mode. They just re-signed quarterback Dak Prescott to a 4-year, nearly $180 million deal, and since Dak's rookie season, he has had just 1 double-digit win season. Obviously, adding the 17th game to the schedule will only help Dak and the Cowboys, but since Dak's rookie season, he is just 29-24 as a starter, and obviously some of those losses are not on him, especially last year, when they were putting up, 40 points a game, but the defense was giving up 45 points per game. Obviously, that's a little exaggerated, but it was a long couple of games for the Cowboys before Dak got injured. Now, the reason they are in win now mode is pretty obvious. As we said, he just signed an extension, and he has to prove if he's worth that extension, and obviously proving that extension's worth would be culminating in a Super Bowl title. And what's going to be critical for Dallas this year is no matter what, they have to win the division. Dak is often talked about as a borderline top 5 quarterback, and if you are in a division with Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, you have to win that division if you're Dak Prescott. I am fully aware that the football team's defensive line, and their defense for that matter, is going to be a pain in the side given how good they are. I am fully aware of that, but at the end of the day, you are playing Ryan Fitzpatrick as their starting quarterback. And if you are Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy, you have to win the division. It starts with winning the division, and they have to do that. Serious, simple, period. And I don't really include Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones as true threats to the Cowboys yet. Could they steal a game against Dallas? Sure, but to really, beat them in a full 17-game season, one gets 11 wins, the Cowboys get 10 wins. I don't see that happening, at least not this year. But for the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, they have to win the division, and it starts out with beating the football team and their very impressive defensive line. And because of that reason, and of course Dak's extension, they are in win now mode in 2021. And the next team we go to in today's video is the Los Angeles Rams, and again, it's pretty obvious as to why they are in today's video. They, of course, have offensive head coach and mastermind Sean McVay, who led this team to the Super Bowl in 2018, only to be held to 3 points by Bill Belichick's Patriots. Now, obviously, this offseason they traded Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks for quarterback Matt Stafford, but the question will be, can Matt Stafford go from 0 playoff wins in his entire career, largely not due to his fault, might I add, to leading the Rams to a Super Bowl? And that's obviously going to be a question we're going to find out, which I am very excited to find out, by the way, because the NFC West is going to be one of the best divisions in football, if not the best division in football this year. And really, what a change that has been in the past decade, from sending the 7-9 Seahawks to the playoffs to the best division in football, led by players like Matt Stafford, Nick Bosa, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson. But anyways, getting back on track here as to why they are a win-now team. Well, Matt Stafford's best years of his career, you would think, are either A, like right now, B, maybe in the past a year or two, or C, the tail end is right now. He is 33 years old and obviously not getting any younger. And another thing that I will bring up that no one else has brought up is Aaron Donald is now in his 30s, and obviously he was a very good player in his 20s, as that's a Hall of Fame resume in itself, with 7 Pro Bowls, 6 first-team All-Pros, and 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards during his 20s. But at some point, and it won't be this year, I don't think, to say the least, but at some point Aaron Donald will fall off. And not to say he's going to be a below average player or even an average player. Remember, this is an all-time great. He will still probably be a great player, just not, the level that we've seen him at over the past couple of years. But at some point he will fall off, whether that's at 32, 33. I do think because of how high his peak was, he will be able to play into at least, his mid-30s, like 35, 36 area, versus 32 or 33 being in the trenches all those years because of the way he takes care of his body. But the Rams are certainly in win-now mode with the addition of Matt Stafford. They have no first-round picks until 2024. Obviously, they're not going to add a big-name receiver in the draft like a Justin Jefferson, like a CeeDee Lamb, because they don't have any first-round picks to do so. So because of that and the big trade that they made this offseason, and of course the eventual end to Aaron Donald's dominance, the Rams are in win-now mode in 2021 and 2022. And the final team we go to for today's video is the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders are a team that is in win-now mode due to a few reasons. Derek Carr is now 30 years old, and of course John Gruden, although he did sign a 10-year, $100 million contract back in 2018, he is in year 4 of that said deal. And the Raiders have not went to the playoffs in any of the years that John Gruden was the head coach. So it's not like they are a team that, went 14-2 one year, had some injuries, kind of like the 49ers did a couple years ago, and they just had some bad luck here and there. No, they have finished, since John Gruden became the head coach of the Raiders, 4th in the division in 2018 with a 4-12 record, 3rd in 2019 with a 7-9 record, and 2nd last year with an 8-8 record. Now, credit to the Raiders because their points per game have improved every single year since John Gruden became the head coach. The defense has obviously been not good, as they've given up over 415 points each year since John Gruden was the head coach, and generally that's not a recipe for disaster, as that is an average of 26 per game at minimum that they are giving up. But the Raiders are in win now mode because they have a coach entering their 4th year who has not went to the postseason, and they have a quarterback now on the wrong side of 30 that has a career losing record. Now, do I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback? Yes, I think he's a solid player. I definitely don't think he's a top 5 quarterback by any means, and I don't think that's offending anybody, at least it shouldn't. You know, there's a lot of quarterbacks better than Derek Carr, especially 5 other ones that are better than Derek Carr, but this is a team that has to get to the postseason. Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert are not going anywhere, and obviously it is easy for them and the Broncos to create an excuse and be like, well, you know, we're in the same division as both Herbert and Mahomes, and while that's not going to be fun for the next 10 to 15 years, by any means, it's definitely not going to be. You eventually have to either A, get past them, or B, somehow deal with them and ultimately win games, because just having that excuse of playing in the same division as them for the next 15 years is going to get tired quick for the Raiders and ultimately their fan base. So for that reason, they are in win now mode, and honestly, if they do not get to the playoffs this year, or at least finish 9-7 and maybe miss the playoffs by a game with a winning record, or 10-7, I guess, with a winning record with a 17-game season, then I would not be surprised if John Gruden gets fired if they go 0-4 in terms of his first 4 seasons as the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, anyways, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, I'd very much appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and like the video. It would help a ton, and it would mean the world. And until next time, have a great day. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.